Infront Systems is the hybrid cloud company. We are focused on challenging our customers, but representing industry almost as a customer advocate. We are looking to help transform the way IT is built, consumed and managed, and we are doing it in a way that is a cloud-first position without losing the legacy and the value proposition of what a data center solution provides to organisations as they move forward into this new world of cloud and all the challenges that come with it.
Many organisations across government and commercial are not really positioned for cloud. So even if they don't have a very clear strategic direction as to why they need to use cloud, they understand they need to transform many of their existing operations and from technology, process and people to be ready for that transformation. And I think that's one of the big challenges they have at the moment. On top of that is actually delivering new services faster. There's an expectation amongst the workforce and the stakeholders of organisations to deliver more, and obviously IT is super central to that. A lot of CIOs have probably run organisations that have been relatively stable or controlled over a lot of years, and cloud has just driven that acceleration so fast that they're really struggling with that change. I think the other thing that they've got to do at the moment and that we're seeing that they've got to deliver is compliance with security regulations. Above and beyond that, they're probably the major things that I'm seeing out there in the market. It's very difficult for them to, another thing I will bring up is flexible work arrangements. So they're really changing the nature of the way that their staff are interacting with IT. And this means that they've got to do a lot more work on that end user space.
One of the biggest things that I think CIOs are struggling with is skills. Skills are pretty scarce in this market. A lot of the mid-market themselves are being challenged through resource scarcity against all of the larger organisations. So I think moving forward, a lot of CIOs are going to have to invest very heavily or look to third-party organisations to help augment that capability to ensure that they can achieve the outcomes that the business is demanding, but in a way that is, well governed and at a lower risk point.
I think one of the big challenges they've got is the contention between the running traditional day-to-day operations and undertaking the significant effort to execute on this cloud transformation. So CIOs around town are balancing between trying to keep the lights on and spending a lot of time and effort with their limited resources to execute on this pretty significant change. So increasingly, another issue that we're seeing is that for CIOs is that their staff aren't actually interested in running day-to-day operations anymore. They're not interested in running backup. They're not interested in running storage. These are now perceived as not as exciting as cloud, and therefore within a lot of the organisations, certainly I've seen, some of these disciplines and some of these areas have been really run down. The storage isn't managed or the backup isn't managed the way I think it would have been done in the past, as staff are increasingly focused on the new stuff. The old stuff has really withered on the vine, and that's even a bigger problem as security compliance and other government regulations now overlay those old traditional systems, and it's just not being done properly.
Another one of the major challenges will be the way in which departments can execute based on the budget constraints that they have. So obviously post-COVID there will be challenges in relation to spend. Capital budgets particularly are a challenge for organisations. But as we move to a consumption-based economy, these are all operational. So how CIOs and CFOs start to manage this contention between capital and operation will be important, but also what models the industry can bring to help alleviate some of those challenges will be essential. So what is the answer? Let's start with what the answer isn't, and that is trying to find individuals in market with the skill sets that are necessary to help evolve an organisation. This needs to be looked at in a much more holistic position. We often see departments come to market for a list of requirements or skill sets that describe a company but not an individual. We have been involved in a lot of these transformational exercises where a contractor has been placed on the floor, has been used to develop a lot of intellectual property over a period of time and then left the organisation without, democratising that IP that was developed. So it puts them, one step forward and very rapidly 2 steps backwards. The reason I say 2 steps backwards is because a lot of organisations invest a lot of money in this innovation phase. But when they lose key staff because of the individual nature of those skill sets, organisations then shy away from doing it a second time because of the futility of often the venture that they're engaged with. So what I think the answer then is to counterpoint that is look strategically at your partners, look at the skill sets they have and the skill set they are developing, and work cohesively with them to make sure that not only are you achieving a broad set of skill sets from the opposite side, so the commercial position, but also ensuring you have a very, very good succession plan internally to transform your own people and transition those skill sets over time and mitigate the risks that so many people have by buying in a single resource.
There is another answer that we're seeing in the market, and I think IDC have recently pointed this out, is the value of a targeted managed service. Someone who can take that basic role off the table, allowing your staff to be able to do the work they need to do, yet you're getting a more well-aligned, cost-effective managed outcome.
One of the questions that needs to be answered is what do we mean by a targeted managed service, or managed outcome often as I use. So we've seen Canberra adopt a managed service mantra for many, many years, but generally what we've seen is it boils down to being a generalist style of service. We're now seeing emerging much more of the SIAM style model where federal government will own architecture and own the delivery of the innovation cycle. So they're now looking for specialist SMEs to assume a role within their organisation to deliver a particular outcome. You can see that across security, storage, backup, and even certain cloud services. As part of this new strategy of We've Got You Covered, which is what we're using to try and umbrella a series of operational outcomes, we spend a lot of time understanding obviously our own skill sets and our own capabilities, but also the needs of the organisations that we work with to help augment, to help them accelerate the outcomes in a hybrid cloud model. So those 5 key services being infrastructure as a service, disaster recovery as a service, and backup as a service, all engineered to ensure a hybrid cloud position, but taking a lot of that ownership and risk off the business to focus on net new initiatives. Those new initiatives though, as we move into a hybrid cloud state, also require operational support. So what we've identified in the skills that we've developed as we transition to cloud is there's a real gap around cloud operations and desktop as a service, particularly against Microsoft's new modern management strategy. So we're bringing these 5 core services to market to help augment our customers' ability to support their cloud journey and their cloud position as we all move forward.
This is a really, really critical question, and we're seeing this again and again. Overall, my experience in Canberra and across federal government, we've seen the traditional procurement cycles. People will come out every 3 to 5 years, they're ready to refresh the data centre, and they will do a large capital purchase trying to guess against the future. What are we going to grow into? And I think with the advent of cloud, organisations have never ever been more uncertain about the amount of infrastructure they need to buy. They're very, very conscious that they don't want to sink cost into infrastructure that's just not going to be needed in 2 years' time or 3 years' time when they go to cloud. But the big problem they have is they don't know how fast they're going. They don't know whether in 2 years' time they're actually going to be bigger in their on-prem data centre because they've failed to go to cloud or they've had a new service. So the uncertainty around infrastructure is a big problem. Alan, have you seen that?
So one of the big advantages of our managed service is leveraging a lot of the financial models that are now available through our vendors, in this case Dell Financial Services. It gives us the ability to understand your environment, model your current need, but also understand projected needs and put everything that you need on the floor today, but only charge you for the base. So the storage or the data protection services that you're consuming. But it also gives you the flexibility to scale up and down in line with your business need or the changes within the business organisation, particularly with the uncertainty of how quickly I'm going to move to cloud. So CFOs particularly are looking for a model where they can get month-to-month kind of projections of what the costs look like. And it's a discipline now that is being built up even in federal government as we transition to an operational model.